Hello everyone and welcome back to another album review. In this video I'm going to review Montero by Lil Nas X. This is the highly awaited debut full-length album from Lil Nas X, an artist that has managed in quite a short period of time to become huge, like really huge. Currently Lil Nas X has managed to be one of the most popular and one of the most talked about artists. It all started a few years ago with a highly acclaimed and massively popular song, Old Town Road, which also contained a remix with Billy Ray Cyrus, which became even more popular, and it was a pretty interesting combination of country and trap music, which made for a really refreshing take on this whole mainstream growth of trap music. Since then, Lil Nas X has released other really popular songs, and with some of them teasing towards the release of his debut album, with the most talked about being Montero, a track that also made a bunch of conservatives freak out, with a video clip being explicitly sexual and satanic, reacting like this as if it's the first time that we've seen similar stuff like this in mainstream video clips. Obviously though, this has to do with the fact that he's black and gay, but no one is ever going to admit this. They would just try to use a bit of a different language to cover up and just say that this is like hurting the children and that is wrong for the generation and that we shouldn't accept this. But deep down we all know what they really mean and why they're doing this, and Lil Nas X knows as well. And actually I like the handling of this situation from Lil Nas X. Some interactions like the one with Caitlyn Bennett on Twitter made for some quite entertaining moments. And if you manage in one way or another to trigger conservatives, that is a win in my book. Now when it comes to the music, the thing with this album is that it goes into many directions when it comes to mainstream music that are not really my cup of tea. This album contains approaches of pop and rap music that are definitely not my style. What I do appreciate about this album though is that despite the fact that it contains lots of tracks, what I like about this album is that it's quite varied. Lil Nas X and all of the producers have actually made an album that is quite diverse and doesn't just focus on one specific sound. We don't get directions like the one with Old Town Road, but I like that this album contains tracks that go from like Latin pop to usual R&B stuff to pop rap, some more straightforward rap moments, and even tracks that go into pop rock directions. Now, I don't necessarily feel that all of those moments work amazingly, like there are tracks in this album that I know I cannot get into, no matter how many times I listen to them. However, I still was kinda pleasantly surprised with some moments in this album. It was better than expected. For an album with this approach and that much of a mainstream sound, I actually felt pleasantly surprised with some of the results. And it's nice that this album is not just constantly into a fun mood. The album can be quite serious at times. And I like that lyrically this album is quite personal. It feels like the artist's attempt on self-reflection, and that is a pretty neat thing. I like that this is happening. I like some of the directions this album ends up going for. Now when it comes to some of the songs, Montero is a song that, in terms of its style, it's a track that I would definitely not expect to like. It is a pretty standard sort of pop rap song with Latin pop elements, which I usually avoid Latin pop, I can't get into. But apart from the fact that the video clip of this song has gorgeous visuals, I actually ended up liking the direction of this song. I liked many of the aspects from the guitars, even if the vocals were not really my style. I really ended up liking this track. I feel that it's quite creative, it has many nice elements to it, and yeah, I found it pleasantly surprising. I also liked another one of the teaser tracks, Industry Baby, featuring Jack Harlow. This one also has a quite nice instrumental. There's not really something that makes this track unique, but it is creative, it is done in a nice way, and it's a really catchy and fun song. The album ends up taking a bit of a different direction with a track That's What I Want. This is one of those instances where we get some of the pop rock elements that we get in this album, but in my opinion it doesn't really make for some of the best moments. That's What I Want was the first moment in this album that I wasn't really feeling it. I definitely admire the fact that this album ends up going into a different direction. It definitely feels refreshing for a Lil Nas X song. However, this is definitely not for me. I didn't really like the song. It is the same case with the track Lost in Citadel, another track that goes into somewhat similar directions, and I didn't really feel it. Now when it comes to some more standard pop rap and trap moments, The one track that I ended up liking the least was DOLLA Slime featuring Megan Thee Stallion. This track just felt really basic and bland for me. Didn't really like the instrumental or the chorus. I just thought that it was a pretty generic song. What was the biggest surprise and ended up being my favorite track out of this whole project is the track One of Me featuring Elton John. Really like the direction of this track in particular, it feels quite creative, it is a pretty simple and really catchy song that also contains some nice piano melodies from Elton John. I like the directions that this track took, it is really nice and catchy, and yeah, I was just really impressed with the results of this one. As the album goes on, it contains some more subtle moments that I enjoyed a lot, like the tracks Tales of Dominica and Sun Goes Down. I feel that some of the greatest aspects about these tracks that made them memorable is the vocal inflections, they sound really good, and I think that they make for some pretty nice moments. The track Void is possibly the sort of darkest moment over here. It is a quite moody song, and as far as I wasn't really feeling the instrumental as much, I like that this track is sort of refreshing with the directions that it takes and just offering a bit of a different sound and not just being another fun song. Then we have tracks like Don't Want It and Life After Salem, which are pretty basic, but honestly not that bad. I wasn't really bothered by them, I thought they were okay. And finally the album ends nicely with a sort of ballad with the track Am I Dreaming featuring Miley Cyrus. I like this album, and more than I would anticipate. I feel that there are some solid tracks. There were moments where I wasn't really feeling it, with tracks that just sound really bland and generic, but at least this album wasn't really boring. It was quite diverse and varied, and for what it is, I feel that it works nicely. It has some interesting ideas, and it makes for a pretty decent pop album that I can enjoy in some parts. I'm gonna give Montero a 6+ out of 10. What's your opinion on this album? Like it, dislike it, why, and what do you want me to review next time? Let me know down in the comments. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe for more content like this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.